All right. Thought I'd leave in case I gapped in doing the videos at the beginning. I thought I'd put a little distracting picture up instead of me just kind of sitting there looking clueless. So, yeah, there's the time that I was dog sitting and had some help that absolutely did not like being made to not be the center of attention. Welcome to Huskers Happy Hour, everybody. Thanks for joining in. Let me know quick again. Apparently the mic that had worked fine all along started going a little tinny. Let me know if it's still doing that. I can't hear how I sound coming in here, so if I need to switch it over to a different mic, just someone be nice and tell me, and we will get that done. But other than that, hey, even Matt Brule called it preseason, said preseason's over. Now the real fun begins. Dylan Raiola today, when asked if asked about the upcoming game with Michigan, said, yeah, these are the kind of games that are one of the reasons I came to Nebraska to play. He wants to be a part of big games, and he's going to get his chance. We are unranked. We'd been getting votes, and after putting up 68 and 59 points, we started losing a few votes. I think we're in the 30s somewhere. Michigan's ranked 22nd or 23rd. We beat Michigan, and I think we'll 4-0 with a win over Michigan, which would be our first win over a ranked team. I didn't even look it up. I didn't want to be depressed. I've looked it up before shows before. I don't want to do it. It's been a lot of years since we beat a ranked team, and we've got one coming into Lincoln. And are they the Michigan that won the national title? No, they're not as offensively gifted. Their defense still looks pretty darn tough. We'll find out. They played a couple of easy teams themselves. Now, New Mexico State made they won. They struggled a little. They pulled away. They won by 17. It wasn't really ever in doubt. They were just constantly with like a one-score lead, a touchdown lead, and it took them a while to extend. But then I believe New Mexico State came back, and now it's not considered that impressive a victory because of how they started this year. They beat UCLA, but they still beat a Big Ten team, so that doesn't look like as bad of a loss as it might have originally. Let me check the comments real quick here. Okay, no one's saying there's problems with the sound, so. Because I used the other mic. I went on the podcast, The Voice of College Football with Mark James last night. Talked some, Huskers Michigan with him for about 15 minutes. And he was saying, hey, sounds a little tinny. I'm like, whoops, because that's the one that's sounded good the last couple of weeks. So hopefully, oh, God, yeah. Let's get right into a comment here. Highlander to Gun, who was first in the contest to log in after seeing I've got it posted here. I know we should be higher ranked than Notre Dame 0-2. I think they've won one, haven't they? Aren't they 1-2? But they're Notre Dame. They are not going to take Notre Dame out of the rankings probably ever until they lose that fifth game. Maybe I won't go as far as the clinching the 500 season, but you know, if as long as it's not to a 1AA team, Notre Dame, as long as they're 4 losses or less, they're staying ranked. They just mean too much money, and you know, basically the CFP has all but admitted now that that's going to, when they expanded to 12, they admitted that profile and that sort of thing would play a part in deciding the at-large teams should the rankings come close. There's been some questionable decisions there, and I think my favorite was where it was Baylor and TCU were 4 and 5, and then they you know both won their final weeks convincingly. Played a shootout for the Big 12 title, and this was after or no, they didn't have a Big 12 title game. So they said, we're jumping Ohio State. His loss to Virginia Tech ended up not looking too good that year, but the excuse was we're jumping Ohio State because you can't. You're not going to be able to hold on that spot unless you play in a title game, which would have been nice to know before the season, I'm sure. That just was the excuse because, you know, Ohio State's was just having them in there was probably worth more than TCU and plus Baylor a few times over. And then a few years later, they turned around. LSU beats Alabama, like I think it was a 7-3, 6-3 type game. Beat them head-to-head. Alabama doesn't even make the SEC title game. And then they get to jump somebody up to number 4 because eye test. You know, so that's the people said. You know, I always kind of liked the BCS, the 1 versus 2 game. Didn't really mind going to 4, but I said, here's the thing: everybody's going, oh no, now you got 4 teams. It's fairer. There's not that fight over the 3rd best team. I'm like, well, okay, there's that fight over. Then there's right away that fight over the 4th, 5th best team. But whatever. But I said, here's the scary thing: is the BCS was transparent. It had a formula. You could look the formula up. It was like the polls, 5 or 6 computer rankings, a point, you know, like -1 point for each loss. So like I think strength of schedule fit in there. And they tinkered with it every year. It was never going to be perfect, but then there's none of this bullshit with, hey, let's just slide these people in because they got more cash or they got the higher profile. You know, it was kind of how Notre Dame for over like a 20-year stretch had the highest, just this incredible margin of defeat, because for a while they never went to bowl games for a while, and then they would only go to New Year's Day bowl games, and so they got thrown into a couple Fiesta Bowls they didn't belong in, got wrecked by Colorado with like 7-4 records. Got wrecked by Colorado, got wrecked by Dennis Erickson's Oregon State team with Chad Ochocinco and TJ Houshmandzadeh, and then they started getting into the BCS finals or then the college football playoff, and their average margin of defeat was like 20 points. So it was just like clearly don't belong. I wonder why they're there. So anyway, yeah, the rankings are a joke. Some of the rankings are a joke, I should say. ESPN has this one now called the FPI or the PFI, some power index, and they admit all it is here's how we think you're going to do from that point on, but they present it as a ranking. They present it as a top 25 and teams moving up and down, and that was the one that still had Texas number 1 after losing to Ohio State. Had Alabama number 4 and Florida State not in those rankings at all, even though, Florida State had about run Alabama out of the stadium. And they present this as like a serious type of thing. It's like, well, I kind of get it too. ESPN has long since stopped calling themselves a news network, even though it's still part of ESPN. They're not news. They've pretty much admitted we're entertainment now. And when you're fighting over, who's broadcasting which conference's games, it's worth, you've got to admit, it's worth something to them to put their thumbs on the scale of those rankings to, because they've got the SEC. I think they've got the SEC and ACC networks, and the Big Ten is off on its own. Yeah, do with that what you will. I just glad I got that out of the way early. But I saw that, here's Notre Dame with a losing record and ranked, and whatever. So anyway, get these out of here. Let's start talking about Michigan week. And I always try to see if there's not a lot of, they always have Matt Rule's press conference Monday, and then they'll have the coordinators plus some players on Tuesday. Not a lot of like earth-shattering stuff today. It's pretty straightforward. They all know what the challenge in front of them is. I don't know if everyone saw this. I'll play the audio from it. I didn't know, and it turned out they emailed us in the middle of rule answering questions that Fred Hoiberg was going to come in with Connor Segian and kid from Lincoln. I forgot his name, but Fred was a pretty funny guy from the jump. But then, and it got caught on audio. Fred's talking about the facilities, and somebody's phone went off, and I'm not sure how clearly you're going to hear it, so I'm going to do a little bit of a. You'll still hear the shock and surprise in Fred's voice, but a little thing about prostate, I believe it was somebody prostate issues. So let's go ahead. We'll just let Fred's just talking about the facilities right now.
Where facilities are, they're immaculate, and just how gorgeous is a Yes. That's a dilemma. Can you give me the answer? Because I usually get about one for the first time. I think
so that was Fred. Hold on. Let me stop Fred here. There we go. Anyway, yeah, so all of a sudden, must be, I don't know, somebody in pre-med or biology, and his phone just at full blast. It wasn't me. And somebody was like, this sounds like Sipple. I can vouch for Steve Sipple. He was in the front row, and this came from this area of tables and workstations behind where the cameras are positioned. And it just starts talking about prostate issues. And poor Fred couldn't help himself, just went, oh, shit. And then it's talking about something you should do or other. Fred goes, well, that's a dilemma. He goes, what's the answer? Because the first time I get up to peas at 1 a.m, and we're just howling. And he'd already cracked us up a few times anyway. But that is the funniest thing I've heard at a press conference I've been at so far. And I've heard some pretty good stuff. Holgerson's always got a little dart or two. He had a good one today. Speaking of which, because now it's like, I swear to God. All you need is for a backup quarterback to look good. God help your starter if he's been shaky at all. And our starter's not been shaky. You'll hear when I talk about his stats so far this year that there shouldn't be an issue. But since TJ Latif's come in, done really well with the backups when they've come in. And so somebody asked Holgo today, and they were like, has TJ Latif's play and his rise and showing his ability, has that changed the game planning at all now? Like, kind of, hey, are we going to start giving him, we're going to start sliding him in? Is there a competition brewing? And Holgerson just kind of looked at him and went, I think our starter's playing at a pretty high level right now, and I got some giggles out of that. He got somebody last week or before the first game when they were saying, I see you've got at left tackle. You've got Pritchett or Gotchula or Corcoran. Are you saying that all three of these will play? And he looks at him for a minute and goes, yeah, that's sort of what the or means. And everybody was like, oh, dude. And then he's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it that way. And he clearly did. But that's the thing. Is I think it sounds like with the team, they trust and love him enough that he likes to throw the little darts like that. And they're like, God damn it, coach got me. So yeah, there's funny moments. I told you, Dylan's just saying the games like this, big blue blood names like this games are the reason I came here. And they, oh God, let's see, Matt Rule Monday did tell us that the T-shirts yesterday. He told us the T-shirts were Dylan's idea. So it sounds like Dylan's. I don't know if he comes up with all these ideas. But the stuff they want the player, hey, coach, can we do this? Like, can we wear the T-shirts? Can we do the all reds? And I forgot to check if the all reds were his idea. I know he was fired up about the blood moon, and then the all reds, like, rumors started. I was like, okay, so somebody decided pretty quickly that they were going to go all in on this blood moon because Coach Rule had been saying, hey, the blood moon means a battle is coming historically. Or that that's the belief in mythology as the battle's on the horizon, and he felt like the blood moon was for Bud against Canelo. So that's pretty good. Let's see. And when everybody was talking, hey, what about this part of Michigan? Are you worried about? What do you do about this? And he didn't sound flustered or anything or frustrated. He just said, look, guys, he said, he goes, just realize we're facing a well-coached team. And some of their defensive stats suggest, they were talking about, how they hide their coverages. And they were talking to John Butler about, what do you do? And he just said, that's one of the challenges. And he goes, we're fortunate to have Dylan, who's become really good at that, but he's definitely going to get his challenge of the year so far at it, because Michigan disguises things pretty well on defense, and obviously has some players. Now there was one funny thing at the because I didn't realize till Monday at the press conference because somebody said they saw him in the crowd, but I read we were just jabbering and might have had a few sodas. We're a little more excited than usual for the fight, but I wasn't really trying to catch celebrities or anything, and I don't think anybody else really caught him either. If they did, who knows? Who cares? It was a wild night, but he was talking about how lots of people are coming up, and I believe he had his wife with him. And he goes, he had this quote, which by God really rings true. I don't think he was trying to take a jab at anybody, but he said, "Some coaches' wives really love attention. Julie's not one of them." So she wasn't really, I think, comfy with the whole celebrity part of the evening. Let's see what else. Somebody had asked. He had said at one point that he likes defensive backs coaches who are calm and demanding. Well, first of all, I thought that was kind of funny because last year's DB coach was Butler, who I will tell you this, and I tweeted it today. Butler always comes in from practice. These guys basically come straight from practice or a warm down or whatever. Usually you see if the players are coming back from class, you'll see, hey, wearing their stuff here to do afternoon workouts or whatever, and not sweating bullets. But sometimes, they're walking in and the players are just sweaty, like, okay, good practice, catch your breath, head over to the press room. And John Butler, I mean, he comes in sweating more than the players. He's got his, bald mullet. He probably calls it his skullet. He's done that. And I mean, that hair is wet. He is sweating through his t-shirts. He can have more than one shirt on. Sweat's still pouring out of there. And I'd just like to be a fly on the wall, follow him around practice. And first of all, I'd probably lose a couple pounds myself. But the way that guy sweats, he must be. And the thing is, he was talking about how he can't engage as much as a coordinator as he did when he was a position coach, where you're constantly hands-on with the players. Looks like he's still staying hands-on. Let's put it that way. He looks like he is still plenty busy and bad. As long as he coaches, I think that's going to be a guy who's going to be in pretty good shape because he looks like he coaches like the players play. But I just thought I'd share that. But anyway, defensive backs coach, calm and demanding, because I was like, this guy seems like anything but. But now you got Addison Williams, I believe, and said he is more the calm type. When we met him, he kind of seemed like the polar opposite of Mike Eckler. There's a quiet intensity there. There's definitely an intelligence there, but he doesn't strike me as the hop up and down and yell guy. But Rule put it this way. He said you kind of want that calm personality because the defensive backs they're the ones, famously said, especially if cover corners, they're on the island. He goes, if a receiver runs an incorrect route, chances are no one's really going to notice. The quarterback's just going to throw to somebody else, and no one's going to pay attention to that. But you make a wrong decision in a coverage, and you're gonna show up looking like the fool on the tape, even though everybody does it. But you're the last line, and if they get a big play off you, that sticks out there. So you really don't want to keep cornerbacks on edge. They know their job. They know they're playing on the edge. They don't need the coach freaking out on top of it. So I thought that was a pretty good one. And he had another hilarious Archie Wilson story. So once again, no punting for Archie. So he had told him near the end of the game, so look, I got to get you in a game here while your parents are here. So he goes, at the end, if we have the ball and we're just going to run out the clock, and I want you to go out there and stand and just go out there in the victory and be in the victory formation. And he said, Archie just looked at him like, you mean just stand there? and Rule like did his Australian impression, and we could just see Archie like, well, what the hell's this about, Coach? And just that just tickled everybody because they could, now that we've met Archie, we could completely see and hear Archie doing that. So got a kick out of that. And let's see, there's a lot of good stuff from the players and the coaches today, this morning, or I guess I should say it's like a brunch type thing. They roll out about 11:30, and then that goes for a while because I think today, what do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players with Dylan bringing up the rear. Apparently, he was doing a Zoom interview with CBS because that's the CBS 2:30 highlight game. This week we get to hear that cool CBS college music, just the best, still the best. So what Holgerson, nothing earth-shattering there, but some good stuff to write about, and probably about the quarterbacks. He did talk, both about how Dylan's been growing this year, the strides Latif has made. For everybody going, hey, maybe it's time. Is Dylan really the best quarterback? Is it TJ? And it's like, guys, it wasn't until about 2 weeks before the first game that TJ was still backing up Jalen Gramstad. So, he's got plenty of time. Let's put it that way. Butler was talking about, how of course he's hoping because he didn't really have much of a threat the last 2 weeks, but they realized, Brad Underwood, there's a quarterback run element there, and he's ready for it. But he said also it's not really handling so much their staged run element, because he said most of it, probably 6 or 7 of his runs last week when he ran for a lot of yards, were same thing that plagued us against Cincinnati. It was pass plays where the rush lanes got busted up and they couldn't, they got the pressure, but then he escaped, and so that's what Underwood was doing. So that he's mostly a drop back. He's a drop back passer with speed. He doesn't really play as a dual threat, but now it seems like they might want to use him that way a little more. Why wouldn't you after watching Cincinnati game tape? But he said, hopefully they've cleaned up their rush lanes. And I was like, I just remember thinking, it's not so much the rush lanes, it's the rush you get through. And then my theory, and and when I give you my theory, I'm giving it versus a guy who's forgotten 10 times more football than I ever learned. But it's those guys, especially if you're the lineman type, even a lot of linebackers, you want to get this guy moving horizontally, and going side to side, and just keeping him moving sideways so the help can get there. Because what did we do again and again with Sorsby? And for that matter, that's kind of plagued different coaches, different defenses, good defenses, for a lot of years. Is they have to try and make that leaping tackle, and they're quick, and that quarterback's quickness, they're just no match for that. And so they're dart out of the way, go. Even Dylan's really good at darting out of the way of kill shot. I always call it the kill shot. I'm going in, and I'm going to just knock this quarterback right out of the game, and then they're just left gripping air because this is a quicker quarterback. So hopefully they've cleaned that up. They can swarm him. Keep the pressure on, but just run this guy out of room, get some help there, take him down, maybe even force a bad pass, that sort of thing, and we'll see. I trust in Butler. We'll see if I still feel that way after Michigan, and I kind of think that's where everybody is with, can we stop the run? We gave up 13 carries, 87 yards to, was it Zyshawn? Oh, I even wrote his name down so I wouldn't forget it. Yeah. Was it Edwards? Yeah, I think it was Edwards. Or maybe I didn't write it down. Or did I write it down on the first page? But anyway, there he is. Zyshawn Edwards carried 13 times for 82 yards, and we had him for about a 5-6 yard loss. He broke a bunch of tackles in the game against the first unit too, but then one of the lower units he turned like about a 4 or 5 yard loss, got loose, and then everybody had run by him, and he was gone untouched for 47 yards and a TD. Like, good news, it was the backups. bad news, it wasn't just the backups missing tackles. I'm sure that'll come up in the comments if it hasn't already. So, yeah, we're pretty well in. One thing is interesting, both Butler and then Sayre Wright was in, and they talked about eye discipline being one of the more important things. Like Sayre saying, hey, if it's man-to-man, it's simple. You just look at your guy. But, hey, if you're in more of a zone-type coverage, you start wandering, he says, and then it's real easy just to start looking at the quarterback and not trying to check the receivers. And they talked about part of, like, defensive success is knowing where to look, especially for the D-backs, and the linebackers, knowing what to look for, where their assignment is, and they'll be looking at that assignment and not something else that takes your attention away. It was interesting. They went into that a little bit. I like the comment from Emmett Johnson. He came in. Man, has that kid gotten jacked since last year? I mean, it wasn't like he wasn't jacked before, but you can see just how much bigger and stronger he is. And he said that was a real focus over, the spring, summer, or whatever. And the kid put in the work. Holy cow, he looks fantastic. You can see it in how much harder he's running. He's out there hitting some holes, getting contact, right there at the line or right there, at the second level, and managing to get loose here and there, managing to power it for a few extra yards. He's not as easy a guy to bring down. So it was not just adding weight, but adding good weight, and looks a little faster too. So it was good to see him. He's a good guy. Most of these guys, you just seem like really good guys. A guy that just seems to have a lot of personality and would be fun to hang around with. Defensive end. Why am I blanking on his name? You guys know me. I do this once. Defensive end who's their code number 1 with Nwaneri. This is like his 3rd year. I'm sure I'll see the name down there somewhere. But anyway, really good guy. Really seems to exudes a lot of charisma, confidence. He always has. Cam Leonard. And, yeah, just good dude. It's all when he comes in, he's just one of those guys that kind of lights up the room a little. Ja'Cory Barney did that. We got to see Ja'Cory for the first time last week, and he just walks in smiling ear to ear, and then it's just infectious, and everybody else is smiling. Anyway, let us check some comments. Let's see how much abuse I'm taking so far. Yeah. Yes, I know it's the old. We talked about this last week. I know it's the old Tom Osborne field. I just got to get a new picture up there. Damn it! Come on, Pit Snipe. this early, I'm gonna catch one. Yep, Fred, you did walk into the Tuesday night prostate exam, and if there's one guy I think that wouldn't be more thrilled about that than anyone here, I think that'd be you, Fred. I think you've got prostate jokes written all over you, and I have no doubt that you can work Northwestern right into those just very naturally. Let's see. Yeah, funniest thing I ever walked in. Yeah, funny. I hope they'll have to adjust to us. That quickly proved to be a little off. I don't sure when this started, but yep. Fred says Pitt said my name 3 times in a row in a mirror and slammed a shot at Dewars, and I appeared out of fat air. That's pretty good. Beetle Fred. Let's see, before we talk a bunch of Pitt says Dylan's fine, he's going to pick him apart. I feel confident too, and I feel when it comes, and we'll talk about Bryce Underwood when we get to Michigan, but yeah, Michigan's kind of where we were last year. Thought throw him in there as a true freshman, and he's just going to have it all figured from the jump. And yeah, there's some bumps, and he's experienced them, and I hope we give him some more bumps. I won't lie. There's a lot of Dewars talk. God, Dewars and Shivas. Nwaneri, I think you're pretty close on that. And I think it's Nwaneri, like A-R-Y, but other than that, yeah. He was so half-assed taking that fumble. He talked about that after the game, and he just said, yeah, he was off balance when he picked it up. Holgerson talked about it today and said it was like, but you watch him make the pickup, and he said he's like, that's just athletic as hell. It's like he went down there, he grabbed it, the football, he's got those giant hands, and it just looked like a kid scooping up an orange, and he just scooped this bouncing orange like it was nothing and grabbed it, and stumbling, bumbling, rumbling a little, but got it in. Williams kind of laughed at himself about that too, but yeah, that's half-assed. Yeah, he was struggling. Well, it was like when I asked Dylan, "Are we going to see any more spin moves this year?" And he said, "Man, the only thing that was disappointing to him was he wished he didn't fall, because he kind of tripped and fell down coming out of it. And he's like, man, I wish I'd kept my feet. Might have had 6. Let's see. So Fred, now that you're an official journalist, maybe print out a roster for your desktop. Just saying. I think that was meant for me. I break many's balls for unprofessionalism. Don't be that, laugh out loud. Hey, I like to think I'm Archie and I've got everybody memorized. That's the thing, though, is I've gotten to the point now where when something's like just on the outside, because there's just too much packed in here these days, is I want to challenge myself. It's like the roster would be like me going to Google. It's like I want to get my chance to remember this myself. So yeah, it's not unprofessional. It's just trying to better myself as a person and as you put it so succinctly, a journalist. Which you'll never hear me call myself that without doing it in a voice like that. Yeah, and 1 year he looked like a baby colt taking its first steps. Yeah, that baby colt's going to do some things for us, I think. He's not off to a bad start. Got recovered a fumble and picked another one up for a scoop and scores, knocked down a pass, all that. No more shots, Andy. Okay, I'll tell you this. After Saturday, let's just say my joy for Bud Crawford was such that Sunday was a day of quiet contemplation in a prone position on my own as I tried to revel in the previous night's victory without moving as little as possible and no shots. Now, I won't speak for Monday Night Football, but yeah, I did go out for a couple after the voice of college football, but that was a quiet night. Had to get up and drive to Lincoln this morning. So let's see. Hey, here you go. Hey, it ain't easy to go. And he's been going over 75%, airing it out the last 2 weeks. Yeah, we'll hold on. We'll talk all the stats. Let's just say he's doing very well nationally right now. And the guy I told you about, the film guy on whose podcast is on YouTube, who did the Pinstripe Bowl and said, hey, you got a stud quarterback there making the right reads. Nobody's getting open. He needs dudes. Looks like he might have some dudes this year. I'd like to see Carter Nelson get a little more involved. I think they're trying to get him in there, and maybe he's just not getting open yet. But Matt Rule said after the Akron game, I believe, that he said, hey, this is turning into here to Carter Nelson. It's time for you to start standing out, and kind of calling him out a little. And so we'll see. Yeah, we're still talking about a redshirt freshman, but that was a heavily recruited redshirt freshman, and they think he's got the body to go right now. Maybe it takes a little longer to figure everything out, but man, when he's one of those that strikes me is when all of you that have seen the movie Friday Night Lights, with the quarterback there, their quarterback there was having his troubles and having confidence issues, and Billy Bob told him, son, one of these days you're going to get past all this, and I tell you what, when that happens, you are going to shine. And I kind of feel like we're on the verge of that with Carter Nelson. When it clicks for him, look the fuck out. I still feel that way. Let's see. We're sure enough. Let's just say, I'm not going to put this one up there, but let's just say Fred has found his footing with the proctology jokes and leave it at that. Nope. Let's see. TSD chiming in. He goes, hey, I'm drunkard and pit snipe. All right, so the boys are ready to go. Let's start getting into this. That's our. I didn't really have a good session on the quotes last week, but if you want to ever get a jump on them, the good ones I get out of the press conferences and whatnot, I try to tweet as many of those as I can throughout the week instead of just dropping them all on you in one day. I just like to have some nice content for people in the Twitterverse, and kind of keep it spread out so there's good stuff every day. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk more about Bud later. But, yeah, I really like Bud leading our lads out. He's a badass, and that's what I want them players to hear as they take the field. And I found a pretty good shot of that. I'll go ahead and throw. I think I did. Let's see. Oh, there you go. And let's see. Let's get rid of the comment. So, yeah, there's a good shot of Bud coming out with the boys. For those of you that don't know, the 140 at the time, that's when he was still that might not have been – I don't know if that's not the Colorado game. No, there it is. Yeah, it's Goodbye. Oh, and there's Dylan, sure. But the 140 that's when he was the 140 champion. So he got a Husker jersey with the number 140 on it, and so that was good stuff. But anyways, let's pop that off. But yeah, that was so cool. And then he was at which Monday Night Football game? Maybe can't remember if it was, because now there's two. So I don't know if it was the Lions or the Chargers one. But anyway, it was fun to see him out there. They interviewed him between plays, asked him a few questions. He came off as usual, just smiling, humble Bud self. Really cool thing too. Well, now we'll talk about that later with Bud. I won't forget that part of it. But anyway, let's see. Okay, so let's move on here. I talked about the drive chart last week. Finishing with like 8 straight touchdowns. Now, it was a little different this week, and definitely a huge reason for that was it was damn hot out there on the field. The result was not in doubt before the first half was over, and both teams in the second half were just letting the clock run. They were just, okay, Nebraska's up a bunch. The subs are in. We're not going to be running wild for very long. And the last 2 times they had the ball, I really felt like, hey, they're just it's like they're not quitting, but sure as hell letting the other team know what's coming. That's the ball right up the middle, and it's getting stuffed, and people are getting frustrated. But I kind of saw that. It's like, this is over. Let's just run the clock. Let's get out of here. Everybody's hot as hell. HCU's had a few injuries. Let's not have any more, and just call it good. But it was still an impressive drive chart. Came out. Kicked, fizzled the first drive on 1st and goal at the 6, but still field goal. I don't think we missed a field goal yet. And then we went touchdown. Then we went 3 straight touchdowns. And then in the middle of that, also we got the Nwaneri, the scoop and score, and then we get the ball back on our own 17. So I think we tried a couple passes, but got sacked once, and then off to the half. Then the second half, starters were done right away. None of this halfway through the third quarter stuff. And it was 3 touchdowns. Then they only had 5 drives in 2 quarters. That tells you what everybody's doing with the clock. And then so one ended on downs, and then ended like they got it on the 8, and it just ran it into the line 4 times and turned it back over, and then got it. And then I think did they get a first down? But they just ran out the end of the game. So, but still. Even Rule said he was happy. Said there were still little things he didn't like them not doing more with the ball before halftime because they had a little bit like maybe a minute and a half on the clock. Didn't like settling for the field goal, but overall, then he said each time he goes, "I'm not going to get on you for what you did." He goes, "I want to see how you react to what you did. What do you do next?" Is what tells him what they are. It's like, yeah, we're all going to goof up, team, individuals. Show me what you do after you goof up. How do you take it, and then how do you play next time you're on the field? So yeah, but other than that, he said overall he was happy. He was just it was one of those days, and he felt he came out and fought a little. Said he didn't yell at him this time, but still told him in the locker room at halftime. It felt like you kind of sloughed walk a little into the half with the lead, like against Akron. Look. It's hard to find things to complain about when you're winning 68-0 and 59-7. So he's just trying to keep him sharp. So let's see. Let's talk about I actually like in those games break it into starter numbers and backup numbers. So here's your starters. Obviously, Raiola. Another nice day. 15 of 21, 22, something like that. 222 yards at halftime, 2 TDs, and then a couple carries for 7 yards. And his turnover sheet remains clean. He's so far he's lost that one fumble that came back to him at Cincinnati. I think that was Cincinnati, and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, that's." I'm not sure why we're not watching that guy run the other way for a touchdown, but hey, little luck never hurts. And as of now, no turnovers for Dylan, and Matt Rule is loving that regardless of the competition. Emmett carried it 13 times for 78 yards, 2 touchdowns. And again had 2 catches for 7 yards. That was his day at halftime. Dane Key, big game, 4 catches, in the half, 4 catches, 101 yards, touchdown. And then Ja'Cory, I throw it in because he had 3 catches for 22 yards. Not for that, he had a TD. That was his first receiving TD as a Husker. He had a few running last year, running those jet sweeps, but he had not managed to snag one. And it was a nice one. It's like there was an out that he caught and got a big block from Dane Key down by the goal line. And you saw Dane push that guy out of the way where he got to dart in there inside the cone, and then Dane just turns around, arms in the air, as happy as Ja'Cory is. So that was nice to see. So the bench play, TJ Lateef comes in, 5 of 5 for 126 yards, had 3 carries for 15 yards and another rushing TD. So had a passing TD and a rushing TD. Mekhi Nelson was out along with Hartzog and Wright. They're both fine. They'll be back. Rule said they're a full go. And then Elijah Pritchett and Gabe Moore, defensive lineman, came out of the game as well. He said they're both fine. Said Pritchett just took a helmet, into the thigh. So they're like, just take the day off, take the rest of the day off. Same with Gabe Moore. He said Gabe Moore kept coming up to him, I guess, and giving him shit that he wanted to go back at it. He's like, yeah, I get it. Just settle. And so they'll both be back. Hartzog and Javen Wright are expected to be a go. At least he said that Monday. And then Mekhi Nelson was held out. And so you saw, you saw Quentin Ives have a big day. And he had 12 carries for 85 yards and a TD. He led the team in rushing, and then also had a couple catches for 36 yards. So he had 121 total yards coming in the second half. Good job. And then Cortez Mills, 3 catches for 98 yards and a TD. I think some of the Lateef talk started because he had that 62-yard touchdown where he just ran by his guy and Lateef hit him in stride. I don't think Dylan has seen a receiver or a coverage like that yet this year. He's been looking at a lot of cover 3, a lot of deep cover. So nobody's really just been coming up to match up the receivers like Houston Christian tried on that play. And I don't know if that was the call or Lateef saw it and said, well, here, I know when we call this play and we see them press coverage on the line, this is what we do. This was the same story behind that touchdown. God, going back to 95 when we smoked Arizona, I believe it was 63-0 at the half, and then we beat them 77 to 21 or 28, and Bruce Snyder threw a little piss fit because we threw an out and up in the fourth quarter, and I think it was John Vedral, was one of those. There were a couple of receivers. It was either him or a Lance Brown type guy, and Osborne was trying to explain himself, and Bruce wanted to jump up. Bruce Snyder wanted to jump up and down and stomp his widow feet and shake with rage. And he was trying to apologize because it was just supposed to be a 5-yard out, but they came up and press, and the check down. It was one of those where if you see it, no calls needed. It's just the quarterback and the receiver have an understanding that 5-yard out turns into an out and up. He did it. He burned him. I don't know why he wanted to press him that late in the game, but anyway, yeah. So yeah, press coverage has its risks. I guess that's the lesson we're trying to learn today, kiddies. So anyway, but big game for Cortez Mills, true freshman, and another true freshman, Mosey. I guess they've moved him now to he's kind of a part-time running back and part-time in the slot. They just want him getting in the game more as a way to get him in the game more. They're impressed with him. I had the little running back poll last week, who are you more impressed with, when they all got a long look at Akron, and Mosey won that poll, and apparently won it with the coaches too. They're not moving him because they're not happy with his running. They're moving him to the slot, get him more involved, getting him more involved with the ones. So there's that. He had 3 catches for 26 yards. And let's go to the comments. So that's just our straight numbers for the day before we get into some of the other numbers. Let's see. I remember brother. Let's see. Yep, there we go. 3-time. We're back to Bud Crawford. 3-time Millennial Ring and WBC champion Bud Crawford. He is there were only 3 of them who had won unified titles. You call it the modern era, the 4-belt era, whatever you want to call it. But there had only been 3 of them who had won unified titles in 2 different weight classes. Bud becomes the only person to do it in 3. And power to you. Let's see. Oh, boy. So we got to keep an eye on Pit Snipe tonight. It says, I've been on the Barton since noon, 0 fucks to give. Guys, that can be entertaining. Absolutely. Let's see what else we got here. Oh yeah, their associate head coach will be running the show with Sharon Moore, and they'll self-impose. Hey, I was going to self-impose 2 games, and they're like, "Well, that's nice. You're getting 3." But yeah, Biff Poggi. I thought I was going to go like P-O. It's P-O. I think G-G-I, and I thought it was going to be like P-O-J-I-I or something. But I think it's like Biff Poggi. But sounds like someone who coached against Jumbo Stein 100 years ago. Then they got into a bit of a row after it and yelled, "Bully, bully." I like that. Good one. Let's see. What else we got? We're talking about Pit Snipes. Early start with the Bartons. Go into the comments and read that for yourself if you like. Wait, Andy, what do you know about Nelson being held out? His dad was chatting on Voice of the Huskers and said that Ives found a rhythm. So maybe it wasn't an injury. He used the language held out, and I just assumed injury. Maybe it's exactly like Dad said, and that's what they did. Is because Mackay got a long look, then they just kept rolling with it. So yep, that was an assumption on my part. That all Rule said was held out. So let's just go with that because that sounds better. I don't want Mackay Nelson hurt either. So let's definitely go with the. Yep, there it is. Yeah, he. Did it to Lance Brown. Yeah, fuck Bruce Snyder. I'm also down with that. God, that sucked losing down there the next year. Ugh. Whatever, Bud. I got 3rd at the Cornhusker State Games wrestling tourney at 171 back in college. Yeah, take that, fuckers. I haven't done it in a few years, but I had been running some track for a while, some old man track down there, and I got some Cornhusker State Game medals there. There's a couple of them. It's like, hey, I never really got one for last place just because there were 3 or less guys, but there's definitely some of the events that aren't that stacked. And they say, yeah, but they're only you want to race with only 4 or 5 guys in it. And I said, I beat everybody that showed up. That's all I can do. Or I got a bronze out of 6 guys. Well, I got a bronze out of 6 guys because only 6 guys showed up, and I was one of them, and that's what you got to do. But yeah, Cornhusker State Games, a lot of fun. I will tell you this. Somebody said, why the hell do they – I saw it once where they're like, why the hell do they water an artificial turf field? And it's like, well, you better do that because there was one of those years where it was 2 days over the weekend, and I had to come back Sunday morning because I had agreed to run on this old man relay, 4x1 relay. And I went to start stretch, but the Saturday I go to start stretching, and it was like 95 that Saturday, then 101 that Sunday. Not a great day for a track meet. But I go to start warming up, and I sit down. And you know what happens when it's 100 degrees and the sun's beating down on those little rubber pellets? I frickin' jumped up as fast as I sat down and went looking for real grass. That will burn your ass, man. So, yeah, they probably – I don't know if – this is going back – I think the last time we did it was about 3-4 years ago. So I don't know that the science has changed. But on those hot days when the sun's beating down, I kind of feel bad for getting tackled on that. I imagine you don't see anybody laying on the ground unless they're really hurt because that stuff will sizzle you, or maybe a good hosing actually will kind of take the edge off of it. They weren't hosing it down, for us dipshits out there at Lincoln High. Let's see. Oh, here we go. I like Rocco Spindler's dad. He's a savage. Haven't had a chance to see or meet him, but some of the dads we love. Like I'm not going to go, hey, he's our fan, but Vincent Shaver Sr. comes in, and we can see he's liking a lot of our tweets, and that, you don't know how much we appreciate that. It's fun to meet parents. Like for softball, this was just kind of fun to me because I covered softball, and just for fun, I went out to Washington. I went out to Seattle for that weekend, and then turned that into like a 9-10 day Pacific Northwest vacation. But one of my favorite, or if not my favorite player on that team, just because of the energy and the hustle that I see out of her and all that, is Samantha Bland, Sammy Bland. And I got a chance to meet her mom and dad because I parked like right next to them, and I'd seen another dude wearing a Bland softball jersey, and that was her uncle. But he's like, no, I'm just the uncle. Let me introduce you to the parents. And they talked to me, for several minutes. Really nice people, and then one of the fun things she does is she has just a different extended handshake for like every teammate in the introductions, that holds the lineup, the introductions up a little, and she just has one. And I said, where did that come from? And her mom was like, I don't know how she remembers them all. So anyway, fun stuff meeting the parents. When you meet fun parents, it makes me appreciate that I'm able to do this even more now, because at the end of the day, most of these parents are just parents. Well, I've talked about Gunnar Stockton, my step cousin. My uncle married his grandmother, and I got to reconnect with his dad and uncle back in August. And now here, he's the starting quarterback at Georgia. They just beat Tennessee. Okay, we'll have a quick Gunnar Stockton moment, but just beat Tennessee 44-41. He threw for over 300 yards, including the big drive to come tie it up, and then Tennessee was nice enough to miss a game-winning field goal. But SEC Player of the Week, great game for him. It was his first big-time true road game. Packed Neyland, 100,000 people in Neyland Stadium in Tennessee. My Aunt Kay told me that she was there, and it was, oh my God, it was so loud and unbearable at times. But she wouldn't have traded it for the world the way that things turned out. So, yeah, again, we all see the stories of parent head cases. Most of them are just the ones who want to see their kids do well. And I think it was Kay who told me it was after the first week, and all of a sudden, hey, Gunner's number 3 in the Heisman odds now. And she just very calmly pointed out when we were texting. She goes, yeah, but what? He goes, but let him lose a game, and then everything's going to be his fault. And it's like, yeah, they know the score. So good stuff. Let's see. What do we have here? Tiger. Andy, I just want to say we appreciate you, man. Thank you very much. I can act like that isn't nice to hear, but that's nice to hear. And number 2, it's not near as much as I appreciate you guys. I have so much fun with you guys. So appreciation to right back to my regulars. Hey, if you're not a regular and you're watching these guys go in the comments, come in and give us a Go Big Red. I'm not forcing you to or anything, but if you want to say hi, get a Go Big Red back, throw it up in there. We'll give it to you. Oh, Pit Snipe, although this might be the Bartons talking. Yeah, Andy's our favorite. We voted. Now, I better not be coming on Monday or Thursday night and finding out you voted different each night. Just kidding. I love it. Thank you very much, guys. Yes, Rocco's dad. Who did he play for? If you know, throw that up there. But he said Rocco's dad played 10 years in the NFL. Can Andy coach Arch Manning? No, but a cool dad story that with Peyton Manning was 97. Nebraska just trounced Tennessee, and apparently after that game, they heard Tom's retired. It announced he was retiring. That's his last game. So after the game, Archie was down on the field talking to Peyton, and Peyton said, "Hey, do you know Coach Osborne? Do you think it would be okay if because he didn't know. It's like, what's the protocol here? Would it be okay if I went over there and would it be okay if I went into the locker room and found him and just congratulated him on a great career?" And as it turned out, Osborne and Archie knew each other, had run across each other a lot over the years. And Archie said, "That would be great. Follow me. I'll walk you in," and did. And Peyton did that. And that's got to be tough. You come out, a chance, you think maybe to get a share of the national title, and you just get trounced. And your first thought is to go congratulate the guy that beat you on a great career. I would say the same thing if it was one of our guys and say it was Phil Fulmer retiring, and the situations were reversed. I thought that was a really cool thing to do. Can I coach Arch Manning? I'm not. I don't have the worst arm in the world. But let's just call me an 8-man dual threat quarterback and receiver and cornerback. And no, I don't think I should be running Ketter Camp. What else we got here? Jesus, they're still talking about being regular. I never should. Maybe I never should have shared Hoiberg. Pitt says I should have some food. Yes, that was probably one of the bigger mistakes I made Saturday night, was failing. I'd eaten a couple of hot dogs at like 6, but they had chili and stuff there, and I probably should have ate a little more. Who am I kidding? So that Sunday was destined to be a payment for all the sins of the previous evening, and there were a couple I felt bad about. But anyway, so where are we now? Here's some fun numbers on the Huskers, and I've got some permission as well. This now makes 9 straight, and this is just me trying to say, no, it's not. We're back. It's not time to break out the "We're Back, Baby" T-shirts and stuff. Although I would like to get one of those Crawford shirts. The players wore them up in the Legacy Wall pregame, and then Bud wore one of them into the ring before the fight. So that was you could feel the Huskers Bud connection all over that entire week. But no, they've won 9 straight non-conference games, and I'm saying these mean something because, and this is the first time since the 99 to 2001 years, which were still the 8 conference game years. So they actually ended up winning. I think 10 straight or 11 straight, but that's something there we hadn't done in 20 something years, is win all our non-conference games for 3 straight years, or at least when, I think the last one we lost was Minnesota, but the Pinstripe Bowl non-conference game. So we've now won 9 in a row. Hey, not doing that for 25 years, it doesn't mean, it's kind of what I said with the whole 68-0 thing. It doesn't mean everything, but it means something. It means, we're doing what good teams should do when we play teams like that, and we hadn't been doing it. Now, does that mean we're ready to beat a good team? Well, we're going to find out in a few days for sure. But as Coach Rule said, I think we're going to play a lot of ranked teams this year. I think the Big Ten's very good. So anyway, it means something. That was our first 50 points back-to-back since 2 of my favorite 2 50-plus points in a game back-to-back since 2 of my favorite high-scoring wins. Last time we did that, 2007, when we finished the game. The second year in a row, we trounced Kansas State, Ron Prince, and Josh Freeman. And then we followed that up, I think, by throwing another 60-something points on Colorado. So that was the last time we went 50-50 back-to-back, 50-plus, 50-plus. And so what's that? Almost 20 years. Does it mean everything? It means something. And now here's another wild one. Here's something we haven't done since 1990 is hold teams under 100 yards passing for 3 straight games. In 1990, we did it 4 times. Can we hold Bryce? I always want to call him Brad Underwood, but my God, that name sounds white. And I don't want to make an insult that way. But no, Bryce Underwood. Can we hold him under 100? You know what? We've not only held 3 straight teams under 100, we've held 3 straight teams under 70. And I feel like I'd love to know how long it's been since we did that. That might be leather helmet. Well, I don't know. You go back. There's a lot less passing the farther you go back, but I bet that's been a while. So anybody wants to get researchy and googly and great googly moogly, go ahead and do that. I had a funny one. I couldn't believe I was the only one that broke this out. This dude tweets out, oh God, it was something about Pat Mahomes, like the Chiefs stink, Pat Mahomes is dead, I want my team to be great again, something like that. And it was just one of those guys, he spelled it CHEIFS. And so I put down there and I went great googly moogly and found a GIF of, hey, that's great, but who are the chefs? That old commercial. And then the older guys came in behind me going, I was thinking that, and I'd go, boy, I haven't seen that in years, and that sort of thing. So I felt really good about myself there. Got a lot of likes and a lot of looks on that one. Dane Key just went over 2,000 career yards receiving with his 100-yard day. He's at 2,060 now. Guess how many other receivers in Division I in FBS currently have over 2,000 yards receiving. I'll give you a hint. It's less than 10. Only 7. There's only 7 other receivers with that many yards. So when they say, hey, you guys got a good, solid, experienced receiver, we got a good, solid, experienced receiver. Dylan just moved up the quarterback passing yards chart a little bit. He just went past Tommy Frazier to take over 9th place on the career passing yards list. So congratulations, Dylan. It's not, he wasn't a big thrower, but that's definitely a big name. So pat yourself on the back a little, and then keep prepping up for Michigan. And then so far this year in 3 games, we've only allowed 3 points in the first half. For all our griping about the first half, we gave up 3 points to Cincinnati. That's the only points given up. We'll see how that goes. So let's see, where are we? Oh, and then some numbers for the defense. I kind of skipped over them, but I wanted to point those guys out. And this is kind of a mix of starters and backup. Leading the team with 6 tackles with safety Rex Guthrie. Rex is getting a lot of notice, starting from his teammates. The defensive backfield is probably the deepest position on the team. Definitely the deepest position on the defense, maybe on the entire team. You got Sarah Wright, Andrew Marshall, Marquise Buford, Deshaun Singleton. I'm leaving out Malcolm Hartzog, and then you can throw Donovan Jones in there. The baby in the group. The rest of them are seniors, and Donnie Jones earned his black shirt just because he's all over the field. He got a lot of corner work, I think, with Hartzog out, or probably corner and safety work with Hartzog out. But like they said, he's 6'1", 200. He has cornerback speed, but hits like a linebacker, I believe is how John Butler described him. Donnie Jones, Omaha North, he's another one turning heads. Well, so anyway, Guthrie led with 6. Andrew Marshall had 5, and then Jameer Khan, Donnie, and true freshman from Bama, or that we took from Bama, Dawson Merritt, all had 4 apiece. So that's kind of in the there's not been one guy putting up the big tackling numbers, say like Isaac Gifford did his senior year. This is each game. They spread the wealth. Riley Van Poppel, Marcus Watson-Trent, and Deshaun McCullough each had a sack. We had 2 more quarterback hits on top of that, and they had 8 tackles for loss with none of them having more than 1. So just spreading the wealth. It's the kind of thing where, we might find out in the run game, but that there's not one guy to pick on. There's definitely not one guy to pick on in the defensive backfield. Go ahead and pick your poison there right now. But I like that. And like I said, the only thing we're looking at is, can we stop Justice Haynes? I would say probably not, but if we can keep it contained, kind of like with Sorsby, who's been throwing, who I think has thrown for over 300 yards both games since we held him to 67. Doesn't mean everything. Definitely means something. And, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the old running game. Let's talk about Michigan a little, and then I'll take a peek at the comments again. So Michigan, we've only played them. Okay, I wasn't sure the math on this. It was a misprint somewhere because it was on the I think in the Husker numbers or maybe Michigan's notes that I got, where they said they've met 14 times and Michigan leads the series 8-4-1, 8 wins, 4 losses, and there's a tie. I'm like, well, that's not 14 games. Who cares? So what you got here? Let's start with former Husker Ernest Hausmann. Remember, linebacker from Columbus, Nebraska. I got to see him play Creighton Prep once out there. Prep won the game pretty handily. And I remember we spent a lot of time in a van because I think it was raining and it just didn't feel like getting soaked in watching a blowout. But what I did see when they ran Hausmann's way, there's not really a category for wrecking fools, but he was wrecking fools. And then I got a little shot of Hausmann here. This is a picture they took of him. I believe, he showed up early for spring. So here's a 17-year-old Ernest Hausmann going through his paces. And my God, hey, the face, 17-year-old. The rest of them, Jesus Christ. Like this is what you showed up looking like. So, yeah, I think he was honorable mention All Big Ten last year. He's currently leading Michigan in tackles with 20. But he's a team. They've made him a team captain, and so just all all the success and wishes in the world to Ernest Hausmann. Heard a few rumors about why he left, and some of them aren't. I'm not really going to repeat any of them here because some of them don't shed a nice light on others. So I don't want to say it. Just it might be true, it might not be. It makes sense, but when we don't know, it's just I'll say there might have been something not great that went on there, but I don't know. And I heard a rumor from someone I trusted. Leave it at that, and we just wish Ernest all the success in the world. Not this Saturday, of course. Come out of Saturday healthy, but if you want to have a lousy game, Ernest, and then beyond that, best of luck to you. Let's go to Justice Haynes next. He has 49 carries for 388 yards, so he's averaging close to 8 yards a carry. He has 5 touchdowns. That's tied for 6th in FBS in Division I. He's averaging 129.3 yards a game. That's 6th in D1. And so, that's the guy we got to stop. Can we? We're a little undersized. Michigan is not. But on the other hand, they didn't look real impressive. They looked all right. They did enough to win, beat New Mexico State. But after Cincinnati, for 2 days, we're like, Michigan's going to run for 400 yards on us because Sorsby ran for 96. And then you see New Mexico State, you feel a little better. You see them not able really to do much. I think he still went for over 100 yards, but they weren't able to do much against Oklahoma. And then then they had a walkover against Central Michigan last week. He's going to give us problems. Okay, then finally we come to Bryce Underwood. He's not having that great a year so far passing. He's 46 of 80. That's only a 57.5 completion rate. He's thrown for 628 yards, couple TDs, but he's also carried the ball 14 times for 126 yards. And I think he might have run for 100 against Central Michigan. So, but take that with a grain of salt. He likes to play as a drop back quarterback, but he is definitely he doesn't operate as a dual threat where they design very many runs for him. But if he runs, he can get it. He's quick. He can get going. He's averaging 7.7 yards a carry when he does run, and he's scored two touchdowns rushing. That his QBR, his quarterback rating is 129.19. Sort of meh. That the college one, you're getting up in the high 100s when you have a really good one. So he's not close to that. Not a lot of big name threats at receiver, but but like I said, he's averaging over 200 yards a game. And they spread it around some. You've got the top two I saw. I just pulled these off the sheet. Donovan McCulley has 10 catches for 158 yards, and Samaj Morgan has 9 for 121. So nobody's averaging more than like 50 yards a game there. We spread it around too, so it is what it is. So then let's see. Let's go to our numbers now, and then we can just start going to comments and stuff, and then I'll throw a few more little factoids out there, but just with their numbers fresh, Dylan, we were talking about Underwood. Dylan right now is 72 of 94, 76.7% completion. That right now is number 4 in Division I, 829 yards, 8 TDs, and more importantly, no picks. His QBR is 178.8, and he's averaging about 276.3 a game, and has only played one full game. The last 2 games he played 2.5 quarters, and just one half. And then Emmett he is 7th in yards, in rushing yards nationally. 52 carries, 329 yards. He's averaging 6.3 yards a carry. He's scored 4 TDs rushing. I think he's also had a couple receptions receiving. He's averaging 108.7 yards a game, which is 10th nationally. And so there you go. And here we are. We are number 1 in the country in fewest pass yards allowed, which 60-something per game, I'd hoping we'd be up there. Okay, here we are. Nebraska is number 7, or no, not top. They are the only team, I think. They're top 10 in both pass efficiency offense and pass efficiency defense. And they're the only school in the top 10 in both of those. They're the only team in the country that hasn't allowed a pass play of over 20 yards in 3 games. Michigan and Nebraska are, let's see, this is just all time, are both in the top 10 wins all time. Michigan's number 2, we're number 8. Or they're number 1 and we're number 8. And then we are 9th in scoring offense and 7th in scoring defense. And I probably not too many other teams that can say that right now. Michigan's big thing, and so here it is. It's like here's the unstoppable force meeting the immovable object. Dillon hasn't allowed a turnover. I think Emmett fumbled one away. Is that our only turnover? Because we didn't have any against Cincinnati, and we didn't have. That might be the only turnover we've had is when Emmett fumbled down near the goal line. But Michigan is +7 in turnovers already after 3 games, which is good for 6 nationally, and they have 5 interceptions. Good for 6 nationally. So something might give there, or maybe just Dillon throws a pick, and it's kind of the trade-off for the 4 touchdowns he's going to throw. Damn right. The last 4 times they've met, 2023 we lost 45-7. 2022 we lost 34-3. We've come to since find out that there might have been extenuating circumstances in the gaps in those losses. It does make a difference when you know what play's coming. In 21, that was the one they had started, but I don't think the illegal scouting had reached its apex where he's sending people to multiple games each weekend, his pals and all. But that was the one we lost 32-29. But then in 2018, we lost 56-10. So 3 of the last 4 games against Michigan, the nicest way to put it is they've kicked the shit out of us. So, another nice close game would be much preferable. Sometimes people say, it's just easier if they kill us than if they beat us at the end. I'm like, looking at those scores, I've got better memories of the 32-29 game than any of the others. So anyway, that's what I got. So let's dive into some comments now and see what you guys got for me. I assume Fred's talking about Spindler here, saying his dad played for the Lions. Hey, so did Dylan's dad. Maybe they've got lots to talk about. Dominic Raiola, over 10 years as Matt Stafford's quarterback with the Lions. So 8-man brothers. Who are 8-man brothers? What are we talking about? I played B. or maybe you're talking about us. You played 8-man. I played 8-man. Yeah, well, 8-man. I had never heard of 8-man. We moved here when I was going into 8th grade, and they were like, "We play 8-man football," and I'm like, "What the fuck is that?" It's like I had a feeling. Yeah, I'm betting it's as simple as it sounds, and I was right. Here's a fun little story, and it's a game I was really bummed we didn't get to play. Was before our senior year, we were going to play. We had a game scheduled with a 6-man team, and it sounded kind of fun. We were going to we were going to play a game where when we had the ball, we'd run an 8-man. 8-man would be the offense, and when they had the ball, 6-man would be the offense. And they'd have to figure out the 8-man defense. We'd have to figure out 6-man defense. And then after the game, like you're going to be assigned to a player, 1 or 2 of us, because I think we had a few more players, or we're going to have a few more players. We're going to be assigned to a player from the other team and go spend the night over, with their families and stuff. And that, I was like, hey, that doesn't, once their dad killing each other, that doesn't sound too bad. We actually one time we played Dawson Verdon, and it's coming off a year where they lost for the state championship, and we didn't have football the year before, and they beat us pretty good, but they didn't blow us out of the stadium by an embarrassing score. That would happen later in the year, but they beat us something, I think, like 27-10 or 27-7. We were in the game for most of it. But anyway, afterwards they were like chili feed together, and by that I mean everybody just kind of mixed up, sat with each other. And let's put it this way: when you've never played a team before, there's not really going to be a hostility over years. There were a few teams we probably wouldn't have done that with, but no, sat down, talked to these guys, and it was really funny because the team that had just beaten us by 15 or 20 wanted to know about Omaha. From Dawson, Nebraska. They, like a lot of people probably believe, you hear them talk these days, is just that cities were just hotbeds of violence, and you took your life in your hands every time you unlocked your graded window door and all that. And they'd heard about Dodge Street, and back in those days, everybody'd be piling into all the different parking lots along 72nd and Dodge. and sitting on cars and drinking. You know, I tried it a couple times. It never really took with me, but I always just thought, hey, it's one of kind of the funky things about Friday Night Omaha, and the cops like, really really keeping them in their place. And I think part of their thing was, don't flash the beers, and if you're sitting and hanging out, then you're probably better behaved than a lot of kids out tonight. But yeah, they heard about Dodge Street, and my God, I've heard Dodge Street's dangerous and all this, and we're cracking up, and they're like, why? It's like, well, our school's just on like a block away from Dodge Street. We're right there at like Underwood and Happy Hollow, and you walk through Memorial Park and you're on Dodge Street, and they were just like, whoa, man, that you guys must be tough in a neighborhood like that. And we're like, you just beat us, guys. We're not tough. But that was just kind of funny, just like, oh my God, the dangers of Omaha. But yeah, at 8-man ball, you met him. It's like our coach said the league he walked into was the weirdest league he'd ever coached in, Coach Scribner, because he goes like, he called up, we were Brownell Talbot. He called up, he goes, you had two Indian reservations. You had the Polish town, the German town, the Bohunk town. He goes, and then you had the Dutch school and the banker's sons and the kids that were kicked out of Boys Town. And it just made for kind of it made for kind of a wacky conference. And I think once he took over, that was his first year coaching there. And I think the first thing he did after that year was started to look at a way to get us in a different conference, which he eventually did with the kind of the area between Omaha and Falls City, like the Falls City Sacred Heart was in that conference. But yeah, 8-man football, good times. You could do a lot of funky, fun stuff with those offenses, and we did. If there are any former Brownell folks out there listening that remember the Lonesome Polecat, I know it wasn't just ours, but yeah, the first time we heard this Lonesome Polecat play, boom, we're in. So let's see. Is like TSD. I never put it together. I remember Spindler beating up on my former team, the Bears, occasionally back in the day. So yeah, Rocco Spindler. If you happen to be stumbling in here, yeah, your dad's getting some play. Now talking about guns now. No Elks had a great great Huskers Bud connection. Oh, Randy Gregory. I did not know that. What is Bud's or Randy Gregory's Bud connection? I'd love to know. Stop stealing John's pickup lines. Unless wait a minute, you might be talking about a different kind of Bud there. the type that comes in regular light. There used to be a Bud something, and I can't remember what it was. I liked the taste of it, but oh hell, Fred's already opened the door, and it just made me shit rivers. It's like I love drinking it, but it turned into like, a little backed up. I'll go get a 6er of Bud. Oh God, whatever the name was, and yep, what was the expression? Clean me out like tidy bowl. Anyway. Pitt Snipes running low on Bud. Somebody help him out. Brad Underwood was the pivot man at the Northwestern car wash. Isn't he the Illinois coach, the pissed off Illinois coach? I think that's Brad Underwood. Likes to grease that old hair back like he's coming out of the 50s or 60s or something like that. Yep, great old commercial. Who are the chefs? That's great, but who are the chefs? Here we go. Now it's shit talking time. We're going to break Underwood. He's a threat, an amazing athlete. Let's see how he runs without knees. Damn right. Give him some more Bartons. Take another swig of the Bartons and let's hear it, especially if you're out of Bud now. Shit. We've got several experienced receivers. As I'm dreaming. Well, no, because we came back. Well, that was my thing. We've got him now. What I thought we had before was maybe two coming in, and one of them was Jacory with a full season under his belt. He's experienced. Dane was experienced. I think Isaiah had played like most of 1 year, but I don't know how much action he got. It sounded like he was getting almost kind of the Jalen Lloyd usage, but boy, he's getting experience now. That catch he made against was that Cincinnati or Akron? I think it's Cincinnati. Where that catch at the side of the end zone. I think that was Cincinnati. But yeah. He's something, but yeah, no. Cortez Mills, true freshman. Mosey, got moved to running back, true freshman. Carter Nelson, redshirt freshman, so he played sparingly in 4 games last year. And we've got the others like the Jeremiah Charles. I don't know if we'll see him or not. But then Quinn Clark, who now has a backup role, made the really nice catch and run in the Akron game. Ken Clark's son. He threw after his touchdown. He threw up the 32 for Dad's number when he was a running back with the Huskers. Hell of a running back with the Huskers, Ken Clark. So no, we didn't have a lot of experience coming in, but we're getting it. We're getting it now. And then tight end, like Harburg experience, but not the tight end. One game's worth coming into this year. Lindenmeyer was probably our most expensive. Yeah, we'll call him experienced because he played pretty much a full year last year, and then they were saying how he is kind of now the captain of the tight end room, and so we got him and Harburg and Carter there, but like 2 of the 3 getting their experience now. Heinrich was in there today. Good to see him. He's always fun to listen to talk. He's got a pretty quick smile and a good sense of humor, so we always enjoy seeing HH in there. What the hell? When Guthrie scores, they need to play "Where Have All the Flowers Gone." I remember the song. Oh, Arlo Guthrie, I'm guessing. Okay. Sometimes I slow the car down a little, but I get there. I'm just lying. I'm a bad fast driver. Hey, Pit Snipe found some more assistance there, so he's ready to settle back in. Here's Fred. Jeez, can't believe I'm going to read this one, but we don't want Justice to get his Haynes all over us. No one wants that. Yeah, Treson Hausmann. I'll just say there might have been not the worst reason that he left, and leave it at that. But you know what? I'm going with the team, with the athletic department, all the coaches' lines. Once a Husker, always a Husker. If you played a season in Nebraska, you can come home again anytime you like. Just think Allie Battenhorst. Because hey, how many transfers do we have on our team? If we like our transfers, I figure, hey, everybody had their reasons, and you'll be surprised how little of them were money. I remember Rocco Spindler was kind of open about that. It's like, it was a NIL, how did you make the decision you make? And he goes, you got to be honest. He goes, the money's there. He's like, pretty much every team now, it's not just like a booster battle to get a guy. The teams work with these collectives, and they have like, the name of ours slips it, but everybody has their numbers guy, and part of that job is trying to determine their net worth, how much they should be receiving in NIL, and for that matter now, the revenue sharing. That's just a job. And I've mentioned this a few times, but Athletic did a couple of surveys of coaches, players, about NIL, the transfer portal, and all that. And money was in there, but money was usually finish third or fourth in those surveys. It's more like make sure find the places that are matching the offers. And they said you'd be surprised how many of these teams working at it separately are coming up with very similar values, because they've got their guys, and a lot of them that used to do this for the NFL, and they paid them to come do it for a college team. So these are guys whose job it has been to determine what the salary should be, what the NIL should be, what the revenue sharing should be. So, yeah, Hausmann, I'd love to have him here, but I think what pisses us off the most is he ended up being as good as we thought he'd be. He got like 6 or 7 starts his freshman year when I think Heinrich and Henrich and whoever the other one from Omaha was started getting hurt. Gifford, maybe that was Gifford. Anyway, when they started getting up, he stepped in and started kicking ass, and then then went to Michigan. Maybe just wanted to play right away. Point is, and then I'll leave it on. There's usually a very good reason to these people personally for why they're transferring, and money's very seldom the top indicator. So there you are. Or maybe it's a case where you got 2 of the same guys, but they don't have enough to pay 2 guys as number 1 guys in NIL, and I want to go get number 1 money. Can you blame him? Is there anything wrong with that? Anyway, so let's see what Hausmann looks like. Looks like Zeus's slow-witted brother. He can go piss on the rope. All right. So I can see it. I'm standing on my own on the Ernest Hausmann Bridge. Yeah, can't give it to you. I gave Pitt Husker blue balls. I don't know. The alcohol might be doing that. Let's see. Oh God, we're talking Pitt Husker blue balls, and he gave him. You can see my baby nuggets is Angeles, my post up, which isn't going to be left up long. Oh, okay. Let's see. Did my daughter, and I didn't because I would have seen it popping up here on the old iPad. Who won? Somebody put up who won. But said volleyball is crazy. Just got done with, and I knew that was going to like start before I did and probably end in the middle of this. Thank you for that, Stephen Frome. What else we got? I'm going to start skipping. Oh God, no, Fred. 8-Man Brothers is not a game at Camp Kenosha. Don't you shit on that. Patrick O'Brien is playing somewhere still. I just saw his name. Was it Colorado State? Am I remembering that correctly? I think he's like the last of that group, and I think this is probably his last season. But anyway, let's see. Yeah, I got the Nebraska Creighton game. Okay, I'm going to skip to the bottom. Did anybody give me the score? Not yet. Give me the score. Tell me who won as I go scooting back. Okay. Oh, God, Pitt Snipe. I tackled a Makovica once. I woke up Tuesday. I mean, people like that, somebody complimented me once, just they saw the weight I've lost the last couple of years. It said, hey, you look like you can step out there now. And I see that line about tackling a Makovica, and it's not my joke. A friend of mine used it years ago when his son asked him, hey, did your team play UNO in hockey? Like talking about our adult hockey team. And the way to link all things. Yeah, I said, if I stepped out on the field for a padless practice with these guys, I said, at some point you'd see him waving for a trainer, and you had another guy looking over my unconscious body going, I don't think he's getting up. that would be how my stepping into practice, let alone a damn game with these monsters. I get to walk by these guys. I see how big they are. Never happening. Never. And I wouldn't want. And I'm thinking back to high school when I was about 15, 20 pounds lighter, and going, my God, and some of these guys that hit their freshman year weighing like coming out of high school weighing like 285. Get the hell out of here. Like Teddy, coming out of Elkhorn South. That was one guy where I'd go to a high school game and talk about the joke about, the uncle taking on the 7-year-olds in football after Thanksgiving dinner. That's what Teddy looked like out there against other high schoolers. Teddy Prochaska, good guy. He's come out to a couple of press conferences and funny guy. Like just it seems like a sharp guy. One of those that finally get to let him talk a little, then you're really happy about him making it back, because you can see just how happy he is to keep on playing right now. Yeah, there you go. Jeff Ogard, Shane Shanley, or was it Scott? Was it Scott Shanley? Scott and Andrew Shanley. I think it was Scott Shanley and Andrew Shanley. And yeah, they were fuckers. My coach, the Scribner I told you about, he actually one year, and I hope I'm remembering the names correctly. I'm pretty sure I'd been telling him from the beginning. But anyway, they have an 8-man all-star game along with the high school all-star game. And he was coaching the East, and they played the West. And I asked, how'd that go? And he said, well, the West, they had a quick kid, and he took off for a long touchdown early, and then we ended up winning 35-7 because he had, what was that, Teppo Numminen? I think he was like the 6'9" defensive tackle from Finland who ended up, starting a couple of years for the Huskers. And then and then one of those fullbacks, God. And just to think that guy was in the game, and because I think he hit college at about 230, and ended up being about 245. Steve something. Oh, racking me. I can usually remember his name, but yeah, he said, yeah, he goes, I had these two guys on my team, two future Husker starters. This team never had a chance. Tiger Shark Diver, you would be wrong. I have been to Baltimore. My aunt and uncle were in D.C., and my uncle took me to a couple of Birds games up there, a couple of Baltimore Orioles games. I got Reggie Jackson's autograph at one of those games. The game he took me to, they were playing the A's, and oh God, did they have? I don't know if the A's had Eckersley yet. No, that was way too soon for that. But no, I think I got Elrod Hendricks autograph. Somebody else, but then I got Reggie's. It was kind of fun. I'm in a crowd of people, and I'm like a 9-10-year-old kid, and and there's just everybody's holding programs out, and I look away, and I felt someone, like I thought someone was trying to steal my program. I felt a jerk, and I look up, and like kind of a kind of pissed off Reggie yanking it away from me, signing it and giving it back like that, and it's like, Reggie, you have to do a kid like that, but hey, I got Reggie Jackson's autograph. Who gives a shit? Stephen Fromm said, "I've been to Baltimore once and left as fast as I got there." Well, my two experiences with Baltimore were those years, and then watching The Wire, and The Wire's definitely not a show that encourages you to visit Baltimore. Pitt Snipe drank his DQ off in Baltimore before. No shit official meeting in DC the next day. I was not impressive that day. Laugh out loud. Oh, God, and here's my rotten son, Drew, better known as Mustang 6197. We were all real tough in the rich neighborhoods around the school. He caught what I was saying about the Dawson Verdon kids. I think, okay, St. Louis I've driven through a bunch. That's fine. But I think it's East St. Louis, which I have also driven through, and he's not lying. That was kind of similar to vacation. That was a place that I'd just like to settle down into their lovely downtown and walk the streets for the local flavor. Maybe it's changed now. I don't know. That's definitely going back some years. Baltimore is a man's town. Don't get sideways, though. They'll toss your corpse in the Chesapeake. Oh God, what was the movie about? Hey, you get looked at sideways? Oh God, what was that? Remember, it was a good movie, good heart-bit movie. If you want, see, that's what was. I'll come back to that in a second. But yes, it's Bud Crawford weekend. So yes, I know Bud's weed, but I'm not thinking along those lines right now. I'm still running too much of a high off Terrence. Anyway. If you ever want to watch one of my favorite dirty cop movies, it's The Big Easy, New Orleans, and the New Orleans accents are flying from those Cajun accents from Dennis Quaid and Ned Beatty and John Goodman, who could all do them pretty effectively. I'm sure some of the locals might argue. I've been down there and I've heard it, and I'm like, it fits in. And they're all just funnier than hell. My three favorite dirty cop movies, if you give a shit, are The Big Easy, Q&A with Nick Nolte, incredible movie. I just think it was too kind of dirty for the Oscar nods. It should have gotten Nolte absolutely, if not flat out one, should have been nominated for Best Actor. He is one of the most frightening, disgusting characters you'll run into. He just, you don't want him to touch you, but he is so. Oh God, there's just this weird charisma about him in the movie, but he's just so seedy and just knows he's been doing such awful things for so many years. It's just second nature, and he knows how to just get inside these people's lives without trying. And then The Prince of the City with Treat Williams, the true story of they were called the Princes of the City. They were the special detectives units that were going after drugs and were just stealing drugs and money by the boatloads. And then one cop, it became too much for him, and he started the avalanche of confessions that took it all down. But yeah, Q&A, Prince of the City, The Big Easy, all good stuff. But I don't know, Baltimore made me think of The Wire, and that made me think of that stuff. So let's see. Oh no, I fully admit it's like I know what that is. I wasn't born yesterday, but it's a Bud Crawford thing. And also we were talking a little Budweiser, but whatever your preference is, Bud Crawford, Budweiser, Bud Smoky, you enjoy it and enjoy your evenings. Let's see, Bud, on the Budweiser energy drink. This was a Budweiser beer. The bottle was mostly clear, and I can't remember it. It had kind of a more modern name. I don't know. It'll come up to me if I care 5 minutes after this is over. Let's see. Stephen Fromm, this is an absolutely fair question. Pitt, did they have the urinalysis test when you were in the Navy? I'm guessing they had it, or it was one of those deals where they had it, but you knew it was coming and when to lay off for a month. Look, one of the funniest, I don't know if they've changed it since, but this is going back 5 or 10 years, where somebody was explaining the steroid testing and other testing in the NBA, was they did it twice a year, and the second one was always in the second half of the season. So after that and the playoffs, do whatever the hell you want because you knew you'd been tested for the year. How funny is that? So yeah, speaking of bad urinalysis testing, no, Pitt said he was just a drinker in the Navy. He hadn't discovered the other chemicals. He goes, found my preferred. We're learning more about Pitt than we want to know. No, Pitt says he found his preferred antidepressant in his 30s. Quinn Clark, yeah, Quinn Clark will be. I don't know about will be, could be, because he's still just a freshman too. He's a redshirt freshman. Man, he looks the part though, doesn't he? Thank God we got a relative up there. Otherwise, he's playing for Montana right now, and then we're getting him late like Samori Toure. Let's see what else. Let's see if we can find any Huskies stuff. Andy, we need to meet that boy. Don't make us show up at the wedding. I was going to try and get him on here for Mighty Ducks with his sister, since that obviously all the hockey they played when they were young. So maybe we'll try and work that out. The thing is, he doesn't work the normal hours. This is kind of where he's on here, but he might be getting ready for bed or getting ready to go to work or at work right now. But yeah, I'd love to have him on. Then you guys can meet the rotten little shit. I just love the things he texts me after these. By the way, after I call him a bunch of names. Let's see what else. Huskers. Huskers going once. Patrick O'Brien. No, I think he got. I want to say he got the. He was there for the he was playing in the COVID year, so he got that free year, and I think he got a medical red shirt in there, so he got his full 6 year. Your full 6, where you can have, or actually you can get you could get 7, because you could get your 4 years of eligibility. Because everybody's like, how's this guy get to be 26? Easy. 4 years eligibility. COVID year. Get my hand in front of the camera. COVID year. Red shirt. Medical red shirt. So, and you can play. And then with the red shirt rules changing, you could play in every one of them. Because I think I'll still never understand why the football players can play in 4, 12, or 13 games and still be red-shirted, but the volleyball and softball players, if they set foot on the field or the court for actual play, then they're done. They can't redshirt anymore. I am waiting for that to hit some sort of court if that doesn't change. Because, yeah, I'm not saying that a team that plays like, say 50, 60 games like softball, you should get to play a third of them before a red shirt, like, 20, because, it's just a lot less games in football. But you sure think you'd let them have 5 or 10 instead of, that seems odd. That I love most things about Title IX. There's a few things I think should be tweaked about it, but the overall theory I like, and I don't understand why that can go on with the completely different red shirt rules under Title IX. If I'm the girls, I'm not happy. And I follow the girls, coached a lot of girls, so I take their side in a lot of shit. And it usually, if you look at it from their side, it's just common sense. So, no, and the thing is, too, it's like, well, now they were trying to demand that the revenue sharing be even. It's like, well, now it's different. Now we're talking the professional aspect of it, and you're getting the revenue sharing. They got to match the scholarships, sure, but the revenue sharing, I don't think it's called revenue sharing. And if your sport brings in 0 revenue, if the net profits are 0, then you're probably not getting any of the revenue sharing. Like volleyball, they make the Nebraska volleyball anyway, and a few others make a lot of money. They're gonna get that revenue shared. So anyway, I guess I did NIL. I had to talk revenue sharing. Let's see, but yeah, Patrick O'Brien, yeah, he's still well within, because he was. Trying to think. I'm pretty sure it was Patrick O'Brien I was saying. But geez, wouldn't he have gone back to maybe Frost's first year?
because I thought he came out. He was one of the guys that supposedly Riley had brought in, and that's 17. So I can't see him being around in 25. That's like it's like last year would have been the last possible year, not this year. So I don't know. If anybody wants to look it up, or you can DM me. You just DM Coordination. I answer those DMs. If you want to remind me to see if I can find out about that, because that's sounding like the maths don't quite make it there. Like there was the guy at Miami they said was playing his 9th year, and it's like, nah, there's not really a way to. There's not a path to a 9th year. Just 7 years can feel like 9 years. I'm still wanting to know how Buster Rhymes got to play for 11 years at Oklahoma. You answer me that, and you'll have solved a mystery, my friends. All right, let's see. What else we got? Shanley was all right. I got a Scott Shanley wasn't great here. Had a decent pro career. Andrew. No, I don't think Andrew got. Andrew just I think played some safety. I think Scott was like a 2-year starter. He wasn't an All-American or all conference or anything, but I think he was a solid starter. It was Andrew had some serious speed. Like he had a hell of 100, but I don't think maybe it just didn't translate because I don't know if he even finished the 4 years or if he transferred out. Or Seppo, what did I just say? Teppo Newman, and that's a hockey player. Yes, Seppo Evwary. That's what I was trying to think of. Thank you. I'm glad you guys are here for me when I'm just trying to pluck this out of the ether and it wasn't a planned talking point. Let's see, keep going. Has Mustang met that boy? Mustang is that boy. That's my son. And Mustang was actually my nickname in college. And compared to the place I lived with the nicknames that got flung around, I was like, yep, I'm good. Mustang sounds fine. I'm Mustang. Because there were some others that weren't Mustang and really had I like to think them as hilarious. Some with more evolved senses of humor than mine would have, I think disgusting or heinous would have been the word they used. But let's just say there was one kid that ended up with the nickname Whack. And the only thing worse than the nickname was when somebody was around to explain to someone else who didn't know that he had that nickname, let alone what it meant, who was happy to explain exactly what it meant. And then all hell would break loose. Your sister's fiance. Oh, that's who you're calling the boy. That's Connor. That's Big Connor. Connor's a horse. But my son, both my son and I are considerably smaller than that boy. So Drew's like, I've known him for years. All right, Fred's out of there to pee. May not be back. Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting down to about the wind it down time, but I'll go through the rest of these. What about Bad Lieutenant? That's definitely a dirty cop movie, and it's a good one. I like the story much more than the other three. The story, the acting, everything. That's why those are my favorite ones. Treat Williams was the star of Prince of the City. And Prince of the City is one where it'll break your heart. I mean, literally, these guys are where they are because they were dirty so long, and now here their lives are about to change for the maybe eat your gun type of worse. And I think there's one point. I'll just say this: there's one point where you have this cop who is just freaking out. He is bawling. And just doing you say these howls that just get you to the core. This guy is just start half crying, half howling in misery. And two of the attorneys who've been working with the main guy, played by Treat Williams, they're off in the corner, and one of them, it's like, this guy's been a bad cop and all this, but you've also seen him as Family Guy. And all this, and just watching him come to pieces, and one of these attorneys just takes the other one into the corner and just quietly goes, "I'm never working any of this type of thing with fucking cops again." He goes, "I can't take it. I just can't. I can't do it again." And it's gut punching stuff. There's The Big Easy, which is a very serious movie as far as the corruption. But it has a snap to it. It's funnier than hell at times, and a lot of these guys. It's Dennis Quaid, the top of his game. You're getting to know John Goodman. It's 1986 or 7. It came out, I think, and then you're starting to see the actor John Goodman's going to become, and Ned Beatty. Most people like to pick on Ned Beatty for Deliverance. That Ned Beatty is like the captain in this New Orleans precinct, and he's just his emotions just run the gamut. He's fantastic in it. Ellen Barkin, she is sweet. She is sexy. She is smart. It's one of her first put her on the map roles. Maybe after she did the cop movie with Al Pacino and John Goodman, because there was a really good cop movie in the mid '80s from them as well. So good stuff though. And Bad Lieutenant, it's good. And there, not that there wasn't a good story there, but that one was he's just all over the damn map. Harvey Keitel is, oh my God. I mean, it's one of those movies that's just kind of off the chain, watching a guy slowly go to pieces over a few days. It's good. I just like the other three better. Here's a great way to describe it. It was harsh, and that's good. That was harsh. Prince of the City is harsh. Q&A is harsh, but they're more like restrained than just in the sense of the story than Bad Lieutenant, which that just feels like the cat got into your cocaine and now he's out in the neighborhood, go catch him. That's what Bad Lieutenant kind of felt like. Here you go. I've been to a dive in East St. Louis one night during the college years. Female bartender showed us her stitches from the knife fight she got in working there earlier in that week. That reminds me of a book by Mike Shropshire called, I think this one was The Last Real Season. He wrote one they were both kind of about the Texas Rangers when he covered them, and my God, a wilder crew. Like their first years, like 72 to 74 was the first book. That one was called Seasons in Hell, and you've got a little bit of Ted Williams, a lot of Whitey Herzog, and a lot of Billy Martin in that one, because Ted was the manager of the Washington Senators before he realized, here's a combat veteran, combat pilot veteran working with children of the 60s and 70s, and in 1970, the story went that Ted was letting them have it after a game. I don't think that team won 60 games, and he's frustrated, and he's giving them the drill sergeant routine in the locker room, and they had this up-and-coming third baseman, as the story Shropshire told went, who was over there, and while Ted's reading him all the riot act, he's got a Playboy with the centerfold just hanging down, and still sitting there wearing like his sliding shorts and his cup, and he's got the hand inside of his cup, just kind of playing with his balls while he's looking at a centerfold. And Ted was just looking at him like, what the fuck is this? And supposedly he just goes up to the kid and goes, son, because he was like a big prospect. He goes, if you ever started taking yourself and this game halfway seriously, the sky would be the limit for you. And apparently the kid's response was not to even glance up, to not even give Ted the courtesy of meeting his eyes, but to just keep staring at the gal, keep doing what he was doing below decks, and going, Ted, why don't you just fuck off? And they said that was the moment where Ted just was like, he's either got to go to jail or find a new way to spend his post-playing career. And basically, the end of the season was a few days later, and he's like, I'm just done for good. I can't relate to this generation. And there were some great Whitey Herzog stories in there. But let's see. But anyway, one of the funniest things, he would talk about the other sports writers because they had their own, they all knew each other from around the country. And there was this very famous LA sports writer. And if you're talking the 70s, it won't be too hard for you to go find out, to guess who this was. He doesn't name him in the book, but this was a sports writer who was happily married, and that was at home. And on the road, he was happily engaged with many other women. And apparently, and he loved to drink with the boys. And one night, he was with one of his gals, and what was it? Yeah, he was with one of his gals, and got into an accident, and driving drunk, ran off the road, hit a tree. He was groggy anyway, and the cops found him. And we're like, "Oh, it's you!" And the LA cops. It was like, "Go ahead, drive home safely, sir." That he goes home, and tells his wife he's so drunk, he thinks he was with his wife. So he tells her, hey, I'm so glad you're okay. And she just, I guess, punched him in the face because he was so drunk. He thought he was out with one of his chippies. He goes and gets in a drunken wreck with her, but it's his wife. Takes her home, like goes to clean up, and then goes back to her, saying, hey, great to see you, honey. And so drunk he didn't even realize he was with his wife then and that he was back home in L.A. But another guy, this was Minneapolis, where said they met each other the guys all met each other for breakfast the next morning, and he's looking really awful. And they said, well, what happened to you? We lost you at this one bar. And he said, yeah, I met this gal, climbs telephone poles for a living. Sweats a lot. She sweated a lot that night. Oh God! And didn't really want to take all of the coveralls off. Oh God! And really enjoyed cocaine. I'm trying to think if I should call her again tonight. So when I hear like the female bartender with the knife fights. Oddly enough, there's sports writer stories behind that. What else we got here? Let's see. From oh God, funny thing from Pitt's night. My mom insisted I take swim lessons forever since we were on the Platte River, so I became a rescue swimmer in the pit. I did a few swim calls. Oh geez, the Platte, man, if you could swim the Platte, you were probably all but ready to go into SEAL training, man. Let's see. We're down to Army talk, and we are getting near the 2-hour mark. So, fun time tonight, guys. We got Michigan. Let's tear into them. Are we gonna see any cheater signs out, or are we gonna be those Nebraska nice fans they talk about? I saw somebody on one. Somebody had gone like, hey, should I go to this game? What's Nebraska like? And stuff. And you got a lot of, not just, Nebraska fans, come on, we'll take care of you, but a lot of people from other schools actually saying, go to Nebraska. They're really good about welcoming visiting fans, taking care of you, making sure you're having a good time. Now, don't expect in the stands for them to, do they still clap politely at the visiting team when they leave? I mean, that's one of those where I was always down with it, except when we shouldn't be down with it. And the 92 Colorado game, man, I still remember the fans storming the field because that was after a lot of frustration, and we dropped 52-7 on them, and it would have been 70 if Osborne wasn't, being Osborne. And they set that tunnel for him, to a tunnel of fans on the field, harassing yelling at the players. I'll give this to that Colorado team for as out of control as they could get. Kudos to them and possibly McCartney for going just walk straight, don't stop, don't do anything. Because then where you had the happy clappers, maybe, there were a few of them there, but there were a lot more people hanging over, letting them have it. No one's spitting or anything like that, but, definitely hurling some colorful comments. And I'm like, well, that's what you reap what you sow, boys. You did your best to make an enemy. You made one. The enemy finally kicked you right in the teeth, and now they want to have a few words with you on the way out. And, I remember thinking at the time, I was standing with a buddy, and we were on the field just kind of watching it instead of participating, but going, all it takes is one guy swinging his helmet there, and we have got a national incident on our hands, because then it's going to be on, and some people are going to get hurt. It might be a couple of them, but it's going to be a lot of us getting swatted with helmets and by guys twice their size. So, as much as I hate everything about 80s and late 80s, early 90s to mid 90s Colorado, well, for that matter, Colorado ever since. Kudos to you for not losing your composure and causing an incident that leaves everybody looking like shit, and probably stops field storming at Nebraska forever. And by God, let's not storm the field at Michigan in case someone's thinking that, man. They're ranked, and I get it. It'll be exciting. But don't storm for number 23. Colorado is fine to storm just for hatred. So that's all I got. We're good. Let's see. The kind of game I'm protecting. Also, check out if you see on Corn Nation website the Nebraska React survey. That's this week's polls. I'm the one. They dolly them up for me. I send in a couple polls. They put them up there. The numbers run back to them, and then they send me the results, and I post those on usually Friday, sometimes Saturday morning, just depends when I get them and how busy I am on Friday. So yeah, go in and click on those polls and chime in there. I've got how will the game end up, and I've got about 6 different versions. So I tried to go out of my way instead of like 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 3, 4. Give you about 6 choices, and then the next one I've got 3 stories of Big Ten fans from 3 other schools who messaged me, or in one case came right up to me and talked about the joy they got from the Bud Crawford fight. And I'm just going, so which one of these stories make you think there's hope for their fan base to become actual humans someday? And just, yeah, so that was just more for fun. But jump in there and do that. Other than that, we will see you. Whoa. What do we got here? Pit Snipe says we're full of beans here, Andy. Stephen Fromm, I can almost hear, was it Joe Swerzak's super fans or whatever? I can almost hear George went going 99-21, the Bears. So, yeah, Huskers 99, the Wolverines 21. They'll take a knee there, at the end to keep it embarrassing from being over 100 or something like that, because we're the Nebraska Cornhuskers and we got class, not like those stupid, lousy Wolverine fans. I don't know. I'm trying to talk like a guy from Chicago when we're the Huskers. Of course, I guess Huskers is just do a normal Midwestern Tom Brokaw, maybe slight drawl. Yeah, Larry the Cable Guy is not how we talk in Nebraska, guys. Hope Larry's well. I probably don't agree with a lot of Larry, but Larry just always cracks me up. And the thing I always loved about Larry is this is a guy that really stumbled into riches. Like, I hope he invested well and still has them, because he had like, one of those like several year moments. But he always just seemed to be genuinely happy and grateful for, because there's tons of very talented stand-up guys that never make it. Greg Giraldo is one that pops to mind. And he famously roasted Larry, and he goes, because he had tried a couple of pilots, never took on TV, and at one point with Larry, he turns around, you see it's not all fun. He's like, how the fuck are you so famous? And Larry, is over there dying. But yeah, good for Larry. You always seem to take it for what it's worth and appreciate it. Anything else we got on the way out the door? Uh-oh. From's a goddamn chief. I'm a dick. But how are the chefs? Anyway, okay. We're done. Love you guys. Thank you as always for tuning in. Nothing better than football talk, but good people to have football talk with. It's like I'll be cheering as best I can for the press box. The downside is that, as they will remind you before each half, this is a working, or each quarter, this is a working press box. Please try to keep it quiet. And at 8, not one of us hadn't get on a oh or a whoo yeah. So anyway, good night. Thank you. Love you. And as always, go Big Red. See you here next week, guys. Take care.